the 6 members of the Progressive Artist Group, namely Francis Newton Souza, Maqbool Fida Hussain, Syed Haider Raza, Krishna Havalji Ara, Sadanand Bakre, Hari Ambadas Gade, in their works had attained a certain maturity. The word progressive, as they had applied to the collective, was derived from the Progressive Writers Movement that was established in 1936, in which writers and intellectuals had written extensively on the social reality influenced by the communist ideology and in different languages. In order that the members of the PAG define a different and a distinct stance in their artistic language and in vocabulary, they wanted their artistic table to have no remnants of nationalist art with its historical nostalgia, subtle poetry, and effete representation. So they turned towards the West and particularly to Europe and the modernity as it had been developed in the 19th and 20th century by various avant-garde artists in varied movements. So they were particularly attracted to Fauvism, Cubism, and Expressionism. Fauvism, particularly with its harsh, dissonant, resonant colors, which they used it very obviously and which they used it very boldly. Cubist, with its broken structural form as they applied it to the human representation. And Expressionism, with its distortion and particularly the thick, heavy lines which they rendered with, seems to have attracted each of their sensibility, and they began to render it in their own personalized way. Now, there were certain influences which also shaped the PAG artists and their vision. In 1942, an exhibition of Jamni Roy's works were held in Bombay, which attracted a large number of press reviews. In 1945, the Calcutta Progressives held an exhibition in Bombay, and this also seems to have had certain influence, particularly because of the representation of artists as Chitto Prasad Bhattacharya, Zainul Abidin, Somnath Hore, who in their own individual capacity had documented the suffering, the misery, the struggle, the poverty, and the death resulting due to famine, and as they witnessed it on the streets of Calcutta. These were rendered in a highly sensitive and personalized manner and rendered in black and white, which created a very powerful effect. It not only evoked but also provoked. It evoked sympathy as well as provoked resistance against the antipathy of the colonial administration. At the same time, in Bombay, there were other important artists who were there, and their works were also of considerable importance. These artists were N.S. Bendre, K.K. Hebbar, Babu Rao Sadvelkar, N.S. Palsekar, and they belonged to a group what was known as the Bombay Group. Two younger artists, Akbar Padamsee and Tayyab Mehta, joined the Progressive Artist Group later on. And of course, Jahangir Sabawala was also there, who charted his own trajectory. Now, in 1951, a joint exhibition of PAG along with the Calcutta Progressive Artist Group was held in Calcutta, and it is said that Gade himself took the exhibition to Calcutta, and it was a big success. 1953, the last exhibition was held, in which artists as Gaitonde and Krishan Khanna, Akbar Padamsee, Tayyab Mehta, and others had also participated. After 1953, the group broke up. Souza and Bakre left for London, whereas Raza left for Paris. Hussain, Ara, and Gade continued to work in India. They achieved considerable success and eventually became nationally known and also internationally acclaimed. Now, what is important here is to understand the radical dynamism of this progressive artist group. Why were they called so radical and why were they considered as progressive? Of course, Sousa later on completely uh, made it clear that progressive is something no longer attached to them because they had moved away from much of the communist ideology to which the word was associated. But the fact remains that they were able to break the shackles of academic realism and move forward, and that they were supported in their endeavor by men like Walter Langheimer, Rudi von Leyden, Schlesinger, Hermann Goetz, made a huge difference, whereby they were able to charter their own personal trajectory, create their own individual style, and establish their vision, which was highly individualistic, which conveyed also their emotions, their social, political, and cultural reality around them, and they were able to do it in a very forthright manner, whereby they did not have to feel any awkwardness in its representation, but it was done with a lot of confidence, lot of optimism and hope that this would establish finally the modernist movement. As a matter of fact, it was the spirit of the time, the spirit of the moment in the life of culture, which helped PAG establish this important movement of modernism in the decade of 1940s, particularly in the context of post-colonialism and post-independence.